The objective today is to describe what the Intel manual says about how this x86 architecture deals with memory. So in this video, I'm really just going to, for part 22 here, go through this one diagram. It's a figure 4-2 in your Intel manual, and for the one that I downloaded, that's page 88. So if you've ever done a hex dump or seen a hex dump or someone else do it or a picture of it, I'm going to show you several pictures today, you might not see what this diagram is showing. The manual says that the way memory works is it goes from the bottom, so the 0 address, to the top. And then the way they did this diagram is the way they tell you not to handle memory in terms of, let's say we have a fundamental data type like this double quad word. So that value right here, and it looks like they made a mistake because at least on my copy it's cut off. So there should be a 2 right here at the very end because there's a 2 right there. That's how I know that. Well, anyways, the way this value is placed in memory is, as you saw starting on this side, this goes at the bottom and it's going to work its way all the way to the top. So if I wrote a program using this value, I should not actually then ask the computer to access the value that is in the word data type. I should not try to get that value, which happens to be right here. So as you can see, CB31, and guys, the H is for hexadecimal, so don't get stuck on the H. This 2-byte value is at a location that starts right here, but so is this value, or it's within this value because of this whole idea that it goes like that. And if we went through every one of these, we would see that like this quad word is inside of this double word, this word is inside that double word as well. This word is even crazier because it is the second part of another word. So the manual tells us not to do this because it would take an extra cycle just to read from there. It's better that you write your program and you store your data across all the available memory addresses, which there are a lot. And a big aha moment for me was the idea that every byte in a computer does have an address. Now, whether you read an individual bit at a particular address is not a thing that happens. Whoops, sorry about this. And in fact, what is more common is programmers are writing programs that are dealing with these values, either a double word or a quad word or whatever. Most programmers are not even worried about any particular byte. And now before we start looking at some data dumps, let me go ahead and just address this whole x86 architecture uses what's called little endian. And so this diagram, I think, does a great job at showing you the difference between little endian right here and big endian. Let's change colors so it's a little easier to see. So if you're wondering who uses big endian, well, ARM architecture, you have the option on a lot of them to go with big endian or little endian. But for me, the biggest reason to use big endian is in networking. You're going to see that be a common thing. But no, little endian is actually makes a lot of sense if you think about math. So if I added the number 12 plus, let's say, 14, how do I do that? Well, I start on this end, the 2 and the 4. So I start on the little n, as in this is the ones place, and then this is the tens place. And so if a computer is doing math and this is the first numbers that come through, that's good for the computer to just try to be as absolutely as fast as possible. We might be talking about microwave and nanoseconds, but sometimes a little bit can go a long ways. So right here, this is the x86 style. So this value, if it's stored in memory, we would have this part right here at the lowest address. But if we're using the big endian, that thing is switched. And so if this word file is being stored in big endian style, it would, make sense like that. If this meant F and that meant I and that meant L and so on, whatever the ASCII values is for words. But let's think about the diagram we just left. This value put this at the very bottom of a rectangle. So then that meant F is here, I is here, L, and then E. So you would sort of be reading from the bottom up. So it's that fact that made me look at some hex dumps and realize that what your typical systems are doing, whether you're on a Windows or Linux, is well, the typical program executing this hex dump, what that program is doing is switching everything for you so that you could better understand the thing that you're looking at. So in this case, all this is just a big jumbledness. It's kind of hard to understand. But notice it counts from the lowest address up, so it's increasing. And so if it's switched this way, you could also bet that it's switched for us this way to make it easier to read, which is a good thing. I just had to spend a long time trying to figure out what byte this is. Is this the first byte or is this the last byte? And it is the first. And the way we read this is there's byte number 1. So that byte being addressable, it is all of those zeros just like this here. But then there's a 1. And then this byte right here is the number 2. And then we go 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Wait, not 10, because we're using hexadecimal. So that's A. And then this is B, C, D, E, F. Oh, I didn't mess up. This is F, and I'm forgetting the 0th byte. Ah, 0 is the most important number in computer science, is what I tell my students, so it's okay that I made this mistake on camera. I'm going to keep on going. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then A, B, C, D, E, F. All right, that makes sense. And then when we're ready for the double digits now, that is right here, 10. So 0A is that. This 0 is 6, 1. That makes a lot more sense now. Let's jump over to another hex dump and hope I don't make a mistake like that again. And as you can see in this one, these are actual words. It says end stream. I see the word predictor here. So this is a better example of what I was saying in terms of this is switched for us. And I like this hex dump even more because right here it's showing us some higher addresses. So we got 1 byte here, 2, 3, and then all these zeros exist. If you remember in this series, this Intel manual series, we have a concept called Canonical Addressing, and that's all that is. So it's supposed to have a lot of zeros on this side, and it probably goes on further, but this program that's doing the hex dump, it just leaves that out for us. And just for fun, at the end of this video, let me go ahead and show you a hex dump of an image, which is pretty cool. When the computer that's doing the dump does not know what a number is supposed to mean, if it's not an ASCII value, it'll just give us these dots. And in this case, I guess this is a picture being dumped, so we can see different colors, and the person who did this, I just randomly found it on Google Images, the person who did it just connected the numbers that make those color, whatever bit of colors we're looking at, they just circled it with that color. So that's pretty cool. Notice the same thing. This is at the 0 address. So this is called magic number. We'll have to do another video on that, what that means. I'm thinking if you read the title that this is a bitmap image, you'll you'll understand what that is pretty quickly. But the point is, we're over here at the very bottom of memory. And as we go through, the addresses increase. So if we were to actually be able to see what this picture is, we can't because of this whole ASCII thing here. But if we found a program that could show us the picture alongside the bytes, we might be looking at a mirror image of it if the computer was not doing that little switch I told you about before. So let's finish the video by going back to the Intel manual. And just remember the concept of this switching idea. So normally we read from left to right and top to bottom in our textbooks, but computers or math work in the opposite way. So that's kind of easy to remember as well, or at least x86 architecture does by Intel. So in your mind, just don't forget about this whole need to switch everything up. And we have programs that do that for us because, yeah, don't forget the little endian thing. And now maybe you can see why I had to make an entire video on this very confusing Intel diagram. And the most ironic part of it all to me is that they're saying do not use unaligned addresses if you want better computer like performance. Basically, they're saying just don't do this or try to access data in this way because these things are unaligned. So I hope that helps, and thank you as always for watching.